Alright guys, so Total War has been the unchallenged king of grand strategy across multiple eras and settings, coupled with tactical battles that are as cinematic as they are strategic. But lately, the series has stagnated. The last few games haven't been doing that well. Players are starved for good, replayable, and innovative historical strategy especially. As someone who's been deep in Total War campaigning for years, I've been looking for games that can challenge Creative Assembly's dominance. Games that push boundaries or dive into niches Total War barely scratches. And that hunger has led me to 7 titles that in this video I want to cover as essentially the closest thing we have to Total War competitors in this space. So let's dive straight in. Now, the first game on the list here is Great War: The Western Front. Especially for anyone tired of Total War's usual historical settings and gameplay rhythms, instead of sweeping conquests and fast-moving battles, this game throws you into the hellish stagnation of World War I trench warfare. This is a brutal, grinding war where victory often meant tiny gains for enormous losses. The campaign map feels alive with tension. Every decision from where to begin, when to bombard, how to manage your supply lines can make or break your offensive line. Unlike in Total War, where you can often throw armies at a problem and hope to win by numbers alone, Great War forces you to think like a real commander, trapped in a war of attrition. This is absolutely not a game for adrenaline junkies. There are spectacles, but it's mainly for strategists who want their decisions to really carry weight over time. And on the battle side of things, you've got the detailed simulation of artillery barrages, trench assaults, and troop morale means you're constantly wrestling with the brutal realities of the First World War. For Total War players, this offers a sobering change of pace. No glorious charges, no heroic cavalry breakthroughs, just cold, calculated warfare that respects history's complexity. It's a very niche and brilliant game, showing that war games can be deeply tactical and historically immersive without leaning too much on spectacle. So if you want to expand your strategy horizons beyond Total War's standard fare, Great War: The Western Front is the closest thing I think you'll find to a genuinely different, thoughtful, and tactical experience. Now, next up on the list, we've got Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. It taps into a deep, ingrained need for a Medieval 3 Total War that, we haven't had in a very long time. But of course, it isn't quite as Medieval 3 as I'd like it to be. The battles are definitely not as good as Total War, but it does have a lot of interesting Crusader Kings elements here on the campaign side of things. Total War's medieval games give you castles to siege and armies to command, but they often treat diplomacy and court intrigue as side notes. Knights of Honor 2 does a really good job of flipping that script by making your court, the economy, all these different mechanics on the campaign central to your strategy. Marriages aren't just a roleplay feature, they're powerful diplomatic tools or triggers for war. Noble schemes and rival factions can destabilize your reign if you're not careful. It's like a real-time Game of Thrones, but with a sharp strategic edge. The diplomacy and kingdom management systems are impressively layered, offering a more granular, reactive political and economic environment than you'll find in most Total War titles. Battles are tactical without being overwhelming, and it's not about fielding massive armies, but about positioning, morale, and exploiting terrain effectively. For Total War players who, are really waiting for a Medieval 3 and sometimes find that the current medieval campaigns are focused too heavily on battles and not really enough on the campaign from a political and economic nuance point of view, Knights of Honor 2 is a breath of fresh air. It feels like a game made for strategists who want that court intrigue, shifting alliances of a true medieval ruler, paired with economic resource management with tons of variety and some tactical battles that reward thoughtful command. This game is proof there's more room for mechanical depth in the genre, and it nails that niche better than any Total War in this era. Now, if you're a Total War fan who lives for the tactical battles, who finds campaigns a bit kind of underwhelming and forgettable, and you really enjoy 17th and 18th century warfare, the Ultimate General and Ultimate Admiral series are like a really amazing alternative made just for you. These games strip away the grand campaign overhead and put you right in the thick of detailed, realistic combat situations. From the blood-soaked battlefields of the American Civil War to the wind-whipped decks of Age of sailed naval engagements. The level of tactical detail here is staggering. Formations matter, morale swings can be decisive, and timing your volleys or broadsides requires real skill. Unlike Total War's more cinematic approach, where you can sometimes brute force a win, Ultimate General forces you to think like a real commander, using terrain, unit cohesion, timing to outsmart the enemy. The fog of war is a real factor, making intelligence and anticipation vital. Similarly, Ultimate Admiral demands mastery of sailing tactics and naval positioning, with wind direction and ship handling playing huge roles. For players craving a combat experience that's gritty, challenging, and deeply tactical, these games are the gold standard. They're tactical simulations. They blow many strategy games out of the water. If you want to sharpen your battlefield skills in a way Total War sometimes glosses over, dive into these games. They're the purest form of the tactical combat Total War teases but rarely fully delivers. Of course, the latest entry in the series with American Revolution is worth mentioning as well, as it's the culmination of land, naval battles as in earlier titles in the series, with a brilliant campaign layer where you control either the British or the Americans. It's got fantastic scope and depth with line-of-sight mechanics tied to scouting and espionage, brilliant regimental management, and more. Its development has unfortunately recently stopped, but on a discount, I would say it's still worth checking out. Now, this next game is relatively new on the scene, but it's absolutely fascinating to me. Strategos is a title for anyone frustrated by how scripted or gamey Total War's ancient battles can feel. This game embraces the chaos and uncertainty of real ancient warfare by introducing a courier system where your orders don't just reach troops instantly. Essentially, this means you really have to anticipate enemy moves, plan contingencies, and react to how the battlefield evolves. A far cry from Total War's often instantaneous unit control. Your units will act semi-autonomously, influenced by morale, terrain, the latest communication delays, making each engagement unpredictable and really tense. Unlike Total War's grand ancient campaigns that can sometimes feel like choreographed shows, Strategos feels raw, chaotic, and brutally realistic. The emphasis on realistic command dynamics and battlefield confusion makes it feel like a genuine simulation rather than just a strategy game. And for Total War veterans who want a tougher, more unpredictable tactical challenge and crave historical authenticity over spectacle, this is an incredible game. The learning curve is quite steep, but once you master the flow of delayed orders and dynamic troop behavior, you experience a level of immersion Total War doesn't quite reach at all. It's proof that ancient warfare can be portrayed with depth and nuance, and that tactical command games don't need flashy graphics to deliver epic experiences. Now, the next game here is definitely a classic example of a competitor to Total War, and that is Grand Tactician Civil War. This game feels like a breath of fresh air when it comes to gunpowder warfare in the campaign and in the battles. It's all about operational level strategy, forcing you to master supply lines, troop morale, railroads, and timing in a way Total War's streamlined campaigns rarely demand. The campaign map isn't just a playground for battles, it's a living system where logistics can break armies as surely as enemy fire. The level of detail here is staggering. You need to coordinate movements carefully, keep supply lines intact, and anticipate enemy offensives, all while juggling limited and dwindling resources. Battles themselves are intense and realistic, but the real challenge is winning the war through superior planning, not just brute force. For Total War players who enjoy the campaign map's strategic layer but want more complexity and realism, this game delivers. It's slower paced and much more demanding, but for those willing to put in the time, it's a rewarding deep dive into Civil War strategy. It challenges your patience and foresight in ways Total War often skirts around, making it one of the best operational war games that could be truly considered as a competitor to Total War on the market. Now, the next game on this list is Manorlords, and I know what you're going to say. You're going to say Manorlords is not a Total War competitor. It's mainly a city building game with kind of battles tacked onto it, but I don't really agree. I think it deserves a place on this list because, yes, it is a cross between something like Anno or Bellwright and Total War on the battle side of things, and I think that is so amazing, and there is so much potential here on the battle aspect of the game. In Manorlords, your village economy directly impacts your military military power, which means you can't just rely on massive armies to win. You need to build and manage your town's resources, agriculture, economy with precision to sustain your troops. And the attention to medieval life, from farming to crafting to village defense, gives the game a grounded, authentic feel that Total War's more abstract systems sometimes miss. The tactical combat, though, is where the game truly becomes a competitor to Total War. Battles here similarly lean towards realism, where positioning, morale, unit cohesion play massive roles. Battle scale right now is on the smaller side, but with future development, I can easily see huge medieval battles of a few thousand troops, fighting it off in this beautiful valley map or over city sieges. What excites me the most is the promise that you're not just fighting battles, but managing a living medieval world where every small decision has meaningful consequences. It's ambitious and still in development, but Manorlords looks like the game that will finally bring medieval strategy and battlefield tactics together in a way that feels both deep and rewarding. For Total War fans who want a medieval experience that is modern, it's here, it's very fresh, and there's a lot more coming to it, and it's less about spectacle and more about simulation, Manorlords is it. Now, the final game on this list is Vorticrun, a hidden gem that zeroes in on a very specific but fascinating period and region. While Total War offers grand, sprawling campaigns, this game focuses on a smaller theater, which allows it to deliver an intense level of political, economic, and military detail that feels fresh and engaging. The game highlights the mercenary warfare and complex alliances unique to this region, creating a political landscape that feels alive and constantly shifting. Combat is more tactical and focused, emphasizing the importance of strategy over brute force, and better yet, it's a bit like Bannerlord, making you able to control whole units and armies in combat, but also to participate as the general, fighting in huge battles. So if you're tired of generic factions, oversized maps with shallow political and economic layers, Vorticrun provides a concentrated, authentic experience where every decision matters. The game's dedication to historical accuracy and regional nuance sets it apart and makes it a rewarding alternative for players who want to explore lesser-known but deeply complex power struggles. Overall, there's no denying Total War's monumental impact on grand strategy and tactical battle games, but with that dominance comes a pressing need for real competition, games that challenge, innovate, and offer fresh takes on the formula. The games I've laid out here aren't just potential competitors, they're bold experiments and focused experiences that push the genre forward in their own ways. Whether it's Great War's harsh realism, Knights of Honor 2's economic depth, the tactical mastery of Ultimate General and Ultimate Admiral, Strategos's chaotic battlefield simulation, Grand Tactician Civil War's operational complexity, Manorlords' medieval authenticity, or Vorticrun's regional focus, each one offers Total War players something unique and compelling. So if you're hungry for new challenges beyond Creative Assembly's polished but sometimes predictable formula, especially with how the franchise has been going lately, these games are the ones to watch, play, and support. These are the alternatives that I'm offering for you here in this video. The future of strategy gaming depends on titles like these pushing boundaries and proving that Total War doesn't have to be the only king of the hill. Either way, I hope you pick up at least one of these games and try them out. I highly recommend it. I've dropped links to each of them in the description below, so go and check them out, decide what you want. Definitely get them on a sale, I would say, and definitely let me know what you think of these games in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this, and thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.